Lord, they're gonna be asking me if I'm your grandma at the graduation.
She's in her happy girl era.
Hey beautiful people, welcome or welcome back to my channel. I'm Tasha, she's truly Tasha, and we're joined today by a special guest. This is Gianna. Say hi. Look, G. Look, mommy, say hi. Well, she's occupied by Sophie right now. But I just want to come on here real quick. I feel like my last few videos were about how to monetize on YouTube and the reason why I'm doing it, but I haven't introduced you all to one of the reasons why I'm trying to do it, right? So this is my baby girl. She's 7 months old, and I have an 11-year-old son. His name is Cruz. He's off right now with his older sister. Yeah, so he's off with her right now, doing some shopping and having some lunch. But yeah, so me and Gianna are here today to tell you all about mommyhood at the age of 40. Not really motherhood at the age of 40, but a surprise baby at 43 years old. So this is my story. I hope you stick around because it's pretty interesting. So here we go. Let's first of all go back almost 12 years ago to when Cruz was born. So I struggled with infertility issues. Me and my husband tried to conceive, but I was not able to conceive. Well, let me go back even further because that's not actually 100% true. I had gotten pregnant before. I've had 2 miscarriages before, right? But when we actually sat down and took the time to talk about things and decide we really wanted to have a baby for real, we went and, we tried for a long time and it just wasn't happening, right? And so we went and saw a doctor. We started doing like the ovulation test so we know what's the best time to do it to conceive. We did all the things, right? And again, nothing was happening. So my gynecologist, at the time, referred me to a infertility doctor. She said, maybe it's a good time to look into a specialist and kind of see what's going on, right? So we went to the specialist and the specialist, did all the tests and everything on myself and my husband. And it was determined that I actually had 2 blocked fallopian tubes. Yeah, 2 blocked fallopian tubes. So that kind of like dashes your hopes and your dreams as a woman of, conceiving a child. Of course, naturally. So, of course, they told us our options. There was a procedure that we could do at the time called, I think it was called a HSG. Don't quote me on that. So a procedure that they could have done to like attempt to unblock my tube, and it's not guaranteed to work kind of thing. So then our second option was IVF, in vitro fertilization. So she told us all about all the risks and the benefits and how, what our chances were of, having a child through IVF. But the cost, y'all, the cost, IVF procedure, at least back in 2012 when we did it, was $10,000 for the procedure. That's not even including all the medications that come along with doing IVF. So I looked at him, he looked at me, and I was like, we don't have $10,000 out of pocket because insurance in Michigan, at least not then, I don't know what they cover now, but as far as I know, they don't cover it now either, but they didn't cover IVF. So this is $10,000 out of our pocket for the procedure. And then my insurance through my job at the time would cover the medications. $10,000. I'm like, I guess we're going to have to do the other procedure because we don't have $10,000. But again, my husband being the supportive and hardworking and provider that he is, was like, no, I'm going to figure it out. We're going to do IVF. So he was sick at the time, battling kidney disease, and I didn't want him to go through more, like putting more work on him to try and make this thing happen for us. So I found out about a program that they had, and I'm telling y'all a lot that you don't need to know, but I'm going to tell you anyway. But I found out about a program just in case, if you're going through this too, maybe your doctor's office may have programs that you don't know about. But they had a program that was called the Seasons of Life Grant. And what that meant was every season, they would pick a different couple. Their board of directors would pick a different couple to pretty much do the procedure for free. $10,000 procedure for free. So I was like, yes, what do I have to do to get in this program to get accepted? So you had to pretty much write a letter telling your story and why you think you deserve to, receive this grant. So I told our story about how we have been trying for so long and that, he has his battles with kidney disease and I want to make sure that I'm able to give him a child, before, Lord forbid, anything happens to him and he's no longer on this earth and with us. So I kind of just wrote this compelling letter to them. Again, not expecting to be picked or anything like that, but I'm like, I'm going to shoot my shot because this is $10,000. So I submitted the letter, and y'all, We got picked. I could not believe it. And we got picked. I will not forget the day. We were both like super excited. Like that was like the best day ever. So anyway, we, went through the procedure, did the IVF. They withdrew the eggs, did the whole process. And they implanted 2 eggs because of my age. They said my chances are better of at least one of the embryos implanting in my uterus if they do like at least 2. And child, the whole time I'm like, girl, if I have twins, I don't want to have twins, right? So they implanted 2. We did the whole process and we waited the 2 weeks or whatever to see if I was pregnant. I didn't take any tests at home because I wanted to be surprised when I got the call from the doctor. So I didn't feel any different. I wasn't feeling any symptoms or anything like that. But yeah, it turns out, yes, I was pregnant, right? So super excited. So like my second ultrasound is when I found out they were doing the test and everything. They're like, oh, baby's looking good. Like, this is the size. It's so tiny you can't even see it. But then they were like doing the thing. There's like something else here. And they're moving over. Child, that's when I found out I was pregnant with twins. Yeah, so I was pregnant with twins through IVF, right? So, I was afraid. I was like terrified. Like, what the heck? So when I left the appointment, I immediately called my husband. And I'm like, so how do you feel about having 2 babies right now? So surprised that he was so happy and excited about having twins, child. So yeah, I did have a high risk pregnancy because of my age and because of like high blood pressure. I had preeclampsia and everything. So I went into labor on April 1st, April Fool's Day. I will not forget because I was like, this has to be a joke because I was only 23 weeks pregnant. And now if you know a full-term pregnancy, you're supposed to deliver or carry to 40 weeks. I went into labor at 23 weeks. On April Fool's Day, so I thought it was like a weird, cruel joke. But it wasn't. So I ended up getting rushed to the hospital and everything because I was bleeding profusely, like so much bleeding. I was already dilated. And I ended up going to the hospital and they gave me medications like magnesium and stuff to help develop the baby's lungs because they were so premature so early, and it's like they are not breathing on their own. Like their lungs are not fully developed at 23 weeks gestation. So they gave me medications to help develop their lungs, and they also tried to give me medications to slow down the labor and the contractions and everything. And I stayed in the hospital for about a week, almost in labor for a week, with the off and on contractions and like just the discomfort and the fear that my babies aren't going to survive this, because the doctors came in and told me that at their age they have an 11% chance of survival. 11% chance. So now, after all of the ups and downs, the happiness, we did this huge expensive procedure. We're finally going to have our babies, and now it's like someone stuck the pin in our balloon and just like deflated our world, right? Because now I'm going to have to deliver these babies and they're probably not even going to live, right? So that was terrifying in itself. So I remember the day that the doctor was checking me out and everything, and he was like, Chase was like on top of Cruz in my uterus, and so whatever he was doing, like, because he was like stepping on my baby head. Chase was stepping on Cruz's head like, we got to get up out of here, homie. So he was causing Cruz's heart rate to drop because of it. So they had to deliver the babies. Like he said, we have to get the babies out like right now because his heart rate was dropping. So of course, I'm going through my emotions. I'm crying. I'm praying to God. I'm like, no, not my babies. Like, they're not ready. They're only 23 weeks, right? So I ended up getting rushed to the operating room. So the babies were born. I remember I woke up in the recovery room. Now, mind you, my husband hated the names I picked. I didn't tell you that part. We didn't have a chance to decide on names yet, so we were delivering babies with no names because I was only 23 weeks, so we still had time. But the names that I wanted, Cruz and Chase, he absolutely hated. He hated those names. But I remember when I woke up in the recovery room, my sister, Lisa, who's no longer with us, I missed her so much, but my sister, Lisa, was standing over me and she was like, we got Chase and Cruz. She was so excited. I'm looking at her because I'm drugged to death. And I'm like, yay, fall back out, right? But he let me have the names even though he hated them. So anyway, I got to see my babies and stuff in the operating room, in the NICU. And they were so little. When I say you, I don't even have anything to compare their size to around me right now, but they could fit in the palm of my hands. Like, they were so little. And their skin was so thin that you could see through and see their veins and everything. I don't have that ring anymore, but like, just for reference, like a wedding ring, a ring this size, this ring could fit up their leg, like over their foot and up their leg. That's just how small they were, right? So, of course, they were hooked to all kind of machines when I saw them, breathing machines, tubes down their throat and everything, because, they have an 11% chance of survival. They're not ready to be in this world yet. So it was just a very hard moment the first time I saw my babies. And I'm already still out of it because I'm still doped up on all the morphine and everything from the surgery. So it's like, I'm here, but I'm not. And I'm like, I need to be here for my babies. But not to go through it day by day of the whole journey with them in the NICU, but Chase only lived for 2 days because their lungs were so underdeveloped. And they told me they wanted to give him all kind of different medications. Some medications may make the tips of his toes fall off. Like, he just wouldn't have a normal life with the medications. But I'm like, I don't care. Like, this is my baby. We're going to do whatever we can to save him. Like, he's going to be here. Until they came to me and explained to me how my baby was being tortured. Because essentially whenever they would have a dip in their heart rate, because they were connected to these machines, but whenever they would have a dip in their heart rate and not able to breathe properly, essentially when he explained it, the doctor said it's like, imagine someone drowning you. So someone's pushing your head under the water and you're trying your best to breathe. That's what Chase was going through every day. It was 2 days, but that's what he was going through every time he would have that drop. He's being tortured. It's like someone's trying to drown him. So we had to make the hard decision to take him off of life support. And I'm sorry because I didn't come on here to have this emotional vlog. I wanted it to be a happy vlog. It was about being a mom after 43. But we had to take our baby off the machine at 2 days old. April 9th, 2013 at 12:19 p.m. Chase transitioned and it was the hardest day. But I remember holding my baby and he was so cold and wet. And I kissed him and I just loved him and gave him as much comfort as I could give him in those last moments. But sorry. Okay, I'm back. I'm sorry. But so Chase only lived for 2 days. And then Cruz spent the next 100 days, probably a little bit less, but the next 100 days in the NICU. And so did I, because I stayed at that hospital with my baby every single night. I went home to shower and pack another bag and come back and slept in the mother's room every single day that my baby was there. And thank you, God, by the grace of God, Cruz came home. Yes, he came home on oxygen and we had to have oxygen tanks at home and everything, but my baby came home. He is such a fighter. They were born at 1 pound each. I didn't say that part, I don't think. They both weighed 1 pound when they were born. And Cruz came home from the hospital weighing 4 pounds. He's a little tiny fighter. 4 pounds he came home. And so fast forward to last year. So now Cruz is 11 years old and, I'm living my life as a single mom because I lost my husband. I lost my husband 4 years after Cruz was born to his battle with kidney disease. So then now I'm like thrust into this life of being a single mom, which of course, nobody wants, I don't think, but I definitely didn't want that for myself. I didn't see that as the picture for my life. But thrust into being a single mom while grieving the loss of my husband. But I have this 4-year-old that fought to be here that now I have to fight for as well, right? So now I'm a single mom and Cruz is 4 years old. So again, I'm living my life, doing the things, recovering from the loss. And, I started dating again eventually. And that's when I met her father eventually. And so, we dated for quite a while. We were together for almost 5 years before I got pregnant, like 4 years before. 4 years we were dating. I wasn't feeling well one day. I don't know what it was. I just didn't feel good. Didn't feel like myself. I was very tired. So I went to the doctor and I think I already told this story in my story time. So I'm not going to go through all the details of this because I told this story in my story time if you go back and watch that video. But anyway, long story short of that, they took a pregnancy test and turns out I was pregnant. And I'm like, no, I'm not, because according to the doctors 11 years ago, and I have paperwork and medical records that say I have infertility issues. Like, I am not able to conceive naturally. I have 2 blocked fallopian tubes. But when I tell you, when God has a plan for your life, it's all in God's plan and God's timing. So while we may say this is not what my life is going to be, this is impossible, nothing is impossible through God. Nothing is impossible through the grace of God, because I was pregnant at 43 years old. I'm like shocked, like, no, I'm not pregnant at 43 years old. But anyway, I was pregnant. So of course not, I'm like terrified because I know what I went through with my previous pregnancy. I don't want to put another baby through that. I was afraid to have kids again because I never wanted to put another baby through what my babies went through. So I was terrified. But I'm like, this is God's plan, so this is what it's going to be. So I did all the genetic testing and everything to make sure that, she didn't have any kind of abnormalities or anything. And they said, well, with the genetic testing, we can find out the gender of the baby as well. So I'm like, oh yeah, let's do that. So at 10 weeks pregnancy, I was able to find out that I was pregnant with a baby girl. Yay, a baby girl. But again, I'm 43 years old. I've already gone through a high-risk pregnancy. I know all the risks. I know how scary it can be. Yeah. Of course, now I have to be followed by a high-risk doctor, plus my normal doctor, all the things that I had to do before. So I'm like, oh my God, I'm repeating this cycle. Like, God is not going to let this happen to me a second time. I just know he's not, right? But, Gianna, I had the biggest scare of my pregnancy, 24 weeks. When I passed 23 weeks, I was like, thank you, God, I'm out of the scary zone, because that's when I went into labor the last time, was at 23 weeks. So when I passed 23 weeks, I was like, thank you, God, like I can relax a little bit, because when I say I was on edge every day up until I passed that point. So I passed that point, but when I hit 24 weeks, I ended up going into the hospital because they called me after tests and told me that the baby was measuring really small. She was measuring really small, and they had concerns, so they wanted me to go into the hospital. So I went into the hospital, and they, ran all their tests and everything, and they had me sign papers. So wait, rewind. So it was more than the fact that she was measuring really small. My blood pressure was through the roof. I had really high blood pressure and everything, and they were saying preeclampsia. Again, preeclampsia is the reason why I went into labor the last time early. I'm not sure if I mentioned that, but preeclampsia was the reason why I went into labor the first time. So now they're saying preeclampsia again. When I say I just broke down into tears and just talking to God, like, God, I can't do this again. Why does this keep happening to me? Like, why can't I have a normal pregnancy? So the one thing that I was so terrified of happening this time around happened again. And I'm like, oh my God, like, why me? Why is this happening to me? So I had to sign papers that said, I'm okay with them delivering my baby. If things go left and whatever happens, I'm okay with them delivering my baby at 24 weeks. All I could think about is what my twins went through. All I could think about was every day in the hospital when I'm watching Cruz on the ventilator and he has tubes down his throat. I couldn't hold my baby. I didn't hold Cruz until he was like 2 months old. Can you imagine giving birth to a baby? You give birth. You have your baby, they place your baby in your arms, immediately you can bond with your baby. I couldn't hold my baby. I couldn't bond with Cruz until he was 2 months old because he couldn't even come out of the incubator and be stable enough for me to hold him without his heart rate dropping. So when they told me that I might have to deliver her at 24 weeks, I'm like, no, not again. Like, not again. Why does this keep happening to me? So reluctantly, I signed the papers with tears rolling down my eyes and not even hearing anything else that the doctor had to say, because all I could think now was my baby. I didn't want to put another baby through this. Let me pull it together. Right? Because I'm here and I'm healthy. It's okay, mommy, right? I'm here and I'm healthy and I'm happy. Right? Yeah. Okay, so, yeah. So, they wanted to keep me in the hospital until at least, I think, 30 weeks pregnant or something like that, and then they would deliver her. So mind you, I'm 24 weeks pregnant. 34 weeks, I think, they wanted me to stay in there. So they wanted me to stay in the hospital for 10 weeks, on bed rest in the hospital for 10 weeks. So my negotiation skills kicked in because I have an 11-year-old son at home. I can't be in the hospital for 10 weeks, but I also want to make sure that I do the best thing for my baby. So that's the pull. As a mom, when you have more than one kid, you have to do what's best for all of your kids. But then you're being pulled in two different directions. It's like, what decision do you make? So I have to negotiate with these doctors right now. I have to talk to God. I have to figure out what I can do to get out of this hospital and care for my son, but also make sure my daughter comes into this world later and not today, right? So I started researching everything about preeclampsia. I'm researching, and I'm like, I had protein in my urine was one of the things. And I had really high blood pressure, right? But I already had high blood pressure. So I was like, well, maybe I just didn't take my pills the way I should. So I'm like, let me just see if I can get my blood pressure under control while I'm in the hospital. So they're giving me my blood pressure pills the first couple of days, and it's coming down. So my blood pressure was good. So I'm like, okay, that's good. So the next thing is the protein in my urine, and I'm researching reasons why that can happen. And one of the reasons was dehydration. And I'm like, Tasha, have you been drinking enough water? I wasn't really drinking water like I was supposed to. Even though I'm pregnant, you should be down in the water. So I'm like, okay, bet. They had me on the IV, so I'm getting fluids, right? So in the hospital, I'm knocking them back. I'm drinking water, just drinking so much water, all the water I can get my hands on. So then when the doctors came in, I'm like, now's my time to negotiate. So I asked them if I'm able to keep my blood pressure under control, and they can do a 24-hour urine test, because that was in my research, the 24-hour urine test, because when they tested my urine the first time, it's just you pee in a cup and they're just testing that day. So it could be anything that can cause you to have protein in your urine, right? So I'm like, if I do the 24-hour urine, they're going to collect every time I go to the bathroom in the hospital. I'm peeing into the thing. It's TMI, I'm sorry. But every time I go to the bathroom in the hospital, I'm peeing into like the basin on the toilet, and then I dump it into this big red container, and I keep it on ice in the bathroom, right? And I do that for 24 hours, and they take all of that urine collected over that 24-hour period, and they test that. Right? So I asked my doctor, can I do that? Absolutely. She was okay with me doing that. So, child, I'm knocking the water's back, drinking water, going to pee, drink the water, go and pee. 24 hours go by. I'm like, okay, can you go test my urine, please? So they took the drug when they tested it. And so the doctors came back the next day with their rounds. And I was just talking to them. And I'm like, so if my 24-hour urine test looks good and my blood pressure is still under control, like, what are the chances of me leaving here today? Like, I wanted to go home that day. They checked the urine, and she said, there's no protein in your urine. I went from having very, very, very high levels of protein in my urine to within 2 days of being in the hospital and drinking this water and flushing my system to having and talking to God, because I say it's nothing but the grace of God. And if you're not a believer, I'm sorry, it's probably not the right place for you, but I am a believer, and I talk to God every single day, and I know that it was God. I know God is the reason why I had no protein in my urine when they did the test. I know God is the reason why my blood pressure went from being like 200 over 110 or some crazy stroke level numbers to being normal, like 120 over 80. Within 2 days of being in the hospital. It was nothing but God. So anyway, I say all that to say they wanted me to still stay and monitor me and monitor the baby and do like the stress tests and stuff to make sure she was good, even though I was good. So they did all that, and y'all, I didn't have to stay for 10 weeks. I was able to be discharged from the hospital after staying there for 5 days. And I went home on March 18th, the day before my birthday. My birthday is March 19th. I was discharged from the hospital on March 18th and able to go home and do the rest of my bed rest at home with my child, my cruise, and not have to be away from him because his birthday was coming up the next month. I would have been in the hospital on bed rest for his birthday. I didn't want to do that to him. So anyway, I went home after a week in the hospital, and every week after that was like, just stay in there, Gianna. Stay in there. Like, don't come out, baby. Stay in there. So I did all the things. I was on bed rest. And when I say bed rest, I use it lightly because I was still able to move around my house and do stuff. I just didn't really go anywhere. And I wasn't able to, like, cook at the stove for prolonged periods and do, like, chores and, like, stuff around the house. But I had a great support system in my family. And I say that because I didn't have support from her dad. Not at all. But that's a whole nother story. I didn't have support from her dad at all. But anyway, I went home from the hospital. Like I said, I spent the next however many months on bed rest, and every week was another week towards my baby girl making it here happy and healthy. I went to the doctor like 2 or 3 times a week, no kidding, because I had to have stress tests for her to make sure that she was good. I had to be monitored by the high-risk doctor for myself to make sure I was good, checking my blood pressure, checking all the things to make sure the preeclampsia doesn't creep back up. And so, like, the next, that was March, April, May, June. The next 3 months, I spent going to the hospital like 3 days a week. So, of course, I took off work. I wasn't I took a leave of absence from work. So I was strictly focused on bringing my baby girl into this world, happy and healthy, and not have her to spend not even one day in the NICU. I didn't want my baby girl to go to the NICU, like, at all. It was my goal. Like, I don't want her to go to, when I deliver my daughter, I want them to take her from my body and place her in my arms. That was my goal. So June 12th is her birthday, and we had a scheduled C-section. And so we went into the hospital that day to deliver Gianna, and everything was good. Everything was working out just fine until we got into the operating room and they put me on the table and they went to do the spinal or the epidural or whatever they call it in your back. That's when things went downhill. So when they had me bend over, I don't know if you ever had one, they have you do like the hunching cat or whatever, where you like hunch your back out. So I'm hunched over the table. I'm already terrified because like that thing is so painful, that long, thick needle that goes in your spine. So I'm already terrified and don't want to do it. So, I'm perfectly still. Don't move. So I'm perfectly still on the table, right? Stick the long needle. I'm cringing, but I'm not moving at all, right? So, okay, they do it. I feel the medicine go in. But then she's like, oh, wait, something. She had to do it a second time. And she said she didn't say that she did it a second time, but I feel like she did it a second time. Because I'm hunched over and I feel something again. And this sharp shooting pain went through my left side of my body. And I was like, I asked the nurse in front of me, I said, is she doing it again? And she's like, no, something, whatever she said. I can't remember. But I'm like, okay, next thing I know, my whole body went flush. And like, I just was like falling backwards. So they like laid me backwards onto the operating table so they can get started. But as soon as I laid on my back, I couldn't breathe. And I kept saying, I can't breathe. Is this normal? I can't breathe. I can't breathe. And they're like, no, it's fine. It's normal, whatever. And I'm like, they're like, just stay calm. So I remember the lights over the operating table on my head. So I'm trying to focus on these lights, right? To calm myself down. So I'm like, no, I can't breathe. Something's not right. Now, mind you, her dad's outside the operating room getting gowned up so they can bring him in after they have me all set up. But whatever happened, what they were telling me, everything is okay. Everything wasn't okay. Because whatever was happening to me was causing her heart rate to drop. So now what was supposed to be a normal planned C-section now turned into another emergency C-section. I'm like, God, can I have a normal delivery experience? Can I have a normal delivery story to tell? No. Now her heart rate's dropping and I'm laying here passed out because I can't breathe. I'm supposed to be awake for this, but I don't remember anything past the point of me opening my eyes and hearing my baby crying. So don't tell me I didn't pass out. Don't tell me that everything was fine, that nothing was wrong. It turns out they called it, they put the spinal too high, a high spinal. So rather than it just numbing the bottom portion of my body, it was numbing up too high to where it was affecting my heart, which is why, and my lungs, which is why I couldn't breathe. Yeah. So her dad didn't even get to come in to see her being born because he couldn't come in because now it's an emergency C-section. So I remember waking up and I heard my baby girl crying and I'm like, oh my God, what happened? I'm asking the anesthesiologist who's over my head, like, what happened? Like, did I pass out? Like, I don't remember anything. They're like, no, it's fine. We're regulating your numbers. And I'm like, what does that mean? But then I lost focus of him because I saw my baby. I saw my baby girl. And I was so happy and so thankful to God because I had never got to experience seeing my child in the operating room or the delivery room. I didn't get to see them when they were first born. They were already in incubators, already connected to machines. But my baby girl was crying and she was happy and not happy, but she was crying and she was healthy and she was here. And so I saw them she was on the little table. They were preparing her, cleaning her up. And I remember just looking over at her and just talking to my baby. I was so happy in that moment because now I finally got to experience what every mom should get to experience when they have their child, which is to see them, their first moments of life. So yeah, go into the recovery room and they bring her, they put her on my chest. I get to have skin to skin with my baby. I never got to experience that the first time around. So I was so happy to be able to do skin to skin with her. And it was just like the happiest moment. So everything that happened with the epidural and everything, like, to me was like a moot point at that point because I was just so happy that my baby girl was here. And she was so beautiful and she was just a blessing from God because she's not even supposed to be here. I had 2 blocked fallopian tubes. At 43 years old, I gave birth to a beautiful, healthy baby girl. Right, G? So now I'm navigating this life as a single mom, because I'll probably tell the story later about the relationship with me and her dad and how things went to shit. Sorry. Things just, fell apart when I told him that I was pregnant. And that's the most hurtful thing, where you're in a relationship with a person that you feel like you love and they love you, and you're making plans for the future, and he gave you a ring, not an engagement ring, because we both were not sure about whether or not we wanted to be married, but we knew that we wanted to be together. So he had bought me a promise ring. So again, we're looking at houses, we're making plans for the future. I have this promise ring that, if I'm being honest, we broke up and got back together so often. So at the time that I got pregnant, I didn't even have the ring. If I'm being honest, I had gave the ring back to him. But again, when I gave the ring back, we got back together the next day. Anyway, that's a whole long story, but we ended up breaking up for sure once I got pregnant. And so he was pretty much, he came to like ultrasound appointments and like doctor appointments and stuff like that. But like, as far as him being present to support me through my pregnancy and being there for me, like, not at all. Absolutely not. He was not there at all. So, but anyway, no woe is me. I'm not going to feel sorry for myself, because we have the biggest blessing here in my baby girl. So anyway, I just wanted to come on here and just talk and tell my story about having a baby after being considered infertile, and just to say, never give up hope. If you're in a situation where maybe you have gotten a diagnosis from the doctors that you're not able to conceive because of whatever reason, there's no way that I should have been able to conceive with 2 blocked fallopian tubes, because how the heck does a sperm get through the tubes if they're both blocked? But she was determined. She was a determined little seed, and she got through, and now she's here. So don't give up hope. Like, if you really want to have a baby and doctors tell you whatever they tell you, I feel like the ultimate decision maker and the ultimate doctor, if you will, is the Lord. So if God has plans for you to have a baby, you're going to have a baby. So just keep doing the things that you feel like you need to do. Keep your body healthy, even though, child, I wasn't keeping my body healthy either. But the Lord said that this was his plan for me. So as scary as it is, and all of that, as scary as it is, and as much as I look at my little girl and I say she's 7 months old and I'm about to be 44 years old, like, she's going to have an old grandma at her graduation. But I wouldn't have it any other way. I wouldn't have it any other way, because I'm so happy that I have this blessing, and she's going to keep me young as much as possible, because she is a burst of energy. She has so much energy and so much personality, and like, I'm just blessed and happy to be her mom. So I'm not going to take up too much of your time. I hope you enjoyed my story. I'm not even sure, it's kind of all over the place, but I just wanted to come on here and just talk about my story and how shocking it was to find out that I am a mom again at the age of 43, but that my daughter is here and she is healthy and she has no kind of problems. And don't give up. My mom's over 40, or my ladies out there at the age of 40 who think you're getting too old and maybe it's too late for you. Nope. Just keep talking to God, stay prayerful, and like, he's the ultimate decision maker. He is a miracle worker. He is the way maker. So if there's a way, he's going to make it for you. So don't give up hope. Thank you so much for sticking around and listening to our story. Do you want to say bye, G? Look, mommies. I think she can't see herself on my camera. So look, mommy, you're on this phone. Look, G. Trying to get her to look at you all so she can say bye. But anyway, thank you so much for tuning in. Hope you guys like, comment, and subscribe. And come back and watch us on another video. More with me and baby G. And maybe Cruz will make an appearance soon, but he wasn't here today. I know, you're looking down there, but look, baby. Look up here. Look, G. Right there. Hi, mama. Say hi. Do you want to say bye? Say thank you for watching. We'll see you next time. Say see you next time. No? Okay. Well, thank you all so much for watching, and we will see you in the next video. Bye.
She's in her happy girl era.